Hi everybody, a very warm welcome to my channel, Nellie the Narcissist. Thank you so much for joining today. And if this is your first time here, welcome. My name is not Nellie, I am not a narcissist, but Nellie is the character that I portray in my comedy skits that are designed to be like healing medicine for survivors of narcissists. And if you haven't seen any of those skits, then I'm going to link them below in the description box. In today's podcast, I'm going to be talking about the manipulative tactics that covert narcissists and covert malignant narcissists, they use when they lose control of you. So this is specifically when you've gone, when you've exited, you've had enough, you've saved yourself, and you've left the hell show. If they can't find anybody as good as you, then unless you have completely healed, you're not fully safe and out of the woods yet. So when I say the narcissist hasn't found anybody as good as you, what I basically mean is narcissistic supply. And just to clarify supply, it refers to attention, energy, validation, and resources. The narcissist basically feeds on all of this from others. And when supply is lost or threatened, they often panic or they lash out. Now, they might be too ashamed to reach out again directly, so what they might do is perform for you very, very publicly that they're in trouble or even dying. They may even threaten suicide or want you to hear and learn about their hardships indirectly. So in this podcast, I want to talk about when the narcissist returns because they're in trouble and they need you specifically to rescue them. So if you appreciate this video today and you'd like me to get the message seen by more people that might need it, then please do like the video, share it with anybody that you think it might help. Comment your thoughts down below if you resonate, and also consider subscribing if you haven't. Healing from narcissistic abuse is a process. It doesn't happen overnight, and it can take a very long time to stop obsessing over them, to stop ruminating, and to break the biochemical addiction that you have for your captor, which is the person that captured you. It's your abuser. Now, this has been a power dynamic in which you have been put inferior and you've been owned and possessed by somebody that claimed and pretended to really care for you and have your very best interests. But you came to recognize through repeated actions, and it was very clear, just how exploited you were, and how the person that you perhaps loved the most or felt the closest to was your very worst enemy and was harming you very deeply, and also was completely happy with that. When we all come out of these narcissistically abusive entanglements, our job basically is to remove them piece by piece. And this isn't a clean bullet wound. This is like a shotgun pellet that's exploded. Now, I once worked on a farm where they used to do clay pigeon shooting. And one day, accidentally, there was a guy there and he leant on his gun and he didn't realise that the safety lock wasn't on. And so the gun went off and it hit my boss's mum. And she had little pieces of shrapnel from her feet all the way to her waist, and thank goodness she wasn't fatally injured. She was okay. It didn't go into any of her organs. And I think about this and I think about all of those tiny little pieces that were inside her skin, that all needed to be taken out piece by piece. And this is exactly how it is when we come out of narcissistic relationships. They're never relationships. When we come out of that kind of toxic entanglement, we need to really do the surgery on ourselves. We find these little pieces here and there that need to be extracted. And we might think that everything's out, and then we find another little bit. And why I'm telling you the story is because this is how it is in narcissistic abuse. When you exit those kind of entanglements, we've got all of these little pieces that need to be extracted. But it's not so simple as just a clean wound. And oftentimes we don't even know where the pieces are, where the wounds are. And this is like one of those sci-fi movies, like from David Cronenberg, where the alien species and this parasite has buried themselves underneath your skin and has injected this nasty virus into your veins that pulls us towards somebody that's very dangerous for us. With healing and time in the process of recovering, this addiction can be broken. But obviously, like any addict, we have to stay far away from the drug, which is the narcissist. The narcissist, though, is going to want to interrupt and stop this process of your healing, because the narcissist doesn't like letting go of old supply, particularly if you've been very good, very useful for them. And they're often going to try to hoover you back into re-engaging. And it's far too easy to fall back. And of course, if you're a kind person and you've got a lot of empathy, as I'm sure that most of you do, covert narcissists, they portray themselves as perpetual victims of life circumstance. And one way, and a very effective way to pull you back, is with a sob story and a need to be rescued. And this can catch you basically completely off guard, and it can come when you least expect it. And if we were talking about war, which in fact we are talking about spiritual warfare, this technique that the narcissist uses, I mean, it could be described as an ambush because it takes you by surprise, it catches you with your guard down. But even if your guard isn't completely down, then it's really hard to resist not stopping to get out of the car when you come across an injured animal at the side of the road. You won't immediately see the devouring wolf that's basically put on a lamb's costume from one that was previously slaughtered just before you arrived. You're just going to see the injured act, and it's hard to remain untouched with an icy heart. And this is something, by the way, that I've had to learn through hard experience. And covert narcissists will use the victim card, and they're going to cry for help as a way to re-engage you. It's classic manipulation. And our job is to become totally unmanipulatable. That's, I don't think, is even a word, but you get the point. You have to get to a place within you that is totally immune to these tactics of manipulation for your own protection. Now, I want to take you to a moment to share something personal that was really difficult for me, but it may help you to understand just how low they're going to go and how these manipulative tactics can become. Now, the narcissist that I dealt with, a covert malignant narcissist, phoned me up one day out of the blue and threatened suicide. Now, the call was to say goodbye and to tell me sorry for all of the time and energy that I spent trying to help, because it was all going to be completely wasted. Now, you may think that threatening suicide is really extreme and it should be taken very seriously. And it is, and it should, for anybody that isn't a narcissist or psychopath. But for narcissists or narcopaths, you have to understand that this isn't extreme at all. This is just a tactic that they're going to use, any tactic basically that they can to regain control. And if they're desperate for your supply, then you have to be aware and you've got to be ready for anything that they will throw at you. I wasn't prepared for a suicide threat, and it really upset me. Because although I knew logically that probably it was a bluff and a lie to get my attention, and it was driven by a lot of anger of me leaving and not being a financial source anymore, but in the back of my mind, because of my empathy, I was playing devil's advocate with myself, because I was saying, well, perhaps this isn't a bluff. What if this is real? What if I don't act? What if I just let this pass? How would I feel if the narcissist actually died? And it really upset me, and make no mistake, it was designed to really upset me. Not only was it manipulation, it was punishment. And it was a test to see where my feelings were at. Be careful of these kinds of tests, because they're playing a game to figure out how much control they still have over your emotional responses. Because they were at one time your puppet master. And we have to reach a point of independence and autonomy where they have no longer any control over our mind, our emotions, or our behavior or actions. Because when they have power, they're going to abuse it, and they're going to lead us into our demise. These little fragments of trauma that's embedded themselves into us and our identity and our nervous system often make you question what's real and what's manipulation. And this is why I'm going to tell you what I've learned, and I call it's the rescuer trap. It begins with the narcissist using any tactic that they can to regain control over you. And what you're witnessing is emotional hijacking, because the narcissist exploiting your natural instinct, basically, to care for others in order to regain access to you. And it is not about reconciliation or any kind of remorse. It's about power. This is not vulnerability. It's weaponized helplessness. It's specifically engineered to flip your internal switches of empathy and guilt and shame and responsibility and whatever else, because they know how to perform the crisis just well enough to lure you back. But what they're doing is checking your temperature to see if you're still affected by them or not. They want to know if they still have power. And this is a test. It's not their feelings. It's a test of your boundaries. They want to see, do they still have access? Not to your home, but to your self-worth. They want to know, how much control they still have over your emotional responses. And I can say it can be harder, way harder, and you're going to need to be way stronger and way more disciplined than ever if you are highly empathetic, because you're going to feel what they're going through. And if you're struggling with that kind of discipline, please know it doesn't mean that you're weak. Many times when we are healing from narcissistic abuse, particularly at the beginning, we can feel like our empathy and our compassion is a weakness, that it's something that we shouldn't have or we'd be better off without. And I can understand why you would reach this conclusion, because I was like that as well. But it is not your weakness. It really isn't. The narcissist is using your sweetheart, your empathy and your compassion, as a manipulative tool. But once we become aware of how we're being manipulated through our emotions, through our goodness, then we have a way to stop it from happening. In the healing and recovery, we have to detox basically from a chemical bond that was created through this trauma and emotional manipulation. There is a big part of this which is also biology. But you have to anchor, into your rational mind here, because once they show you, at least once, maybe twice, maybe even more, when they show you who they are, you have to believe them. You have to trust the pattern. Narcissists are consistent in one thing. They return to the same destructive behavior. And you might say to yourself, but this time it looks real. These really seem like genuine tears. This seems like a genuine cry for help. I really do think that the narcissist is in trouble. But please don't take the bait, because victimhood is bait. Asking for rescue or phoning you up or texting you to let you know that they really need help, and even if they don't ask for you directly, they want you directly. And you have to know that every single rescue mission that you embark upon for them is one less step on your own path to healing. That's the truth. You're not being called to save them. You are being baited to abandon yourself again. And we don't give empathy to those that have none. Empathy is a sacred resource. We must choose very wisely who we give that to. When we give it to a narcissist, they're going to use it as leverage against us. It's like handing your soul to a con artist. That's what they are. They don't change. Not because they can't, but because they don't want to. And if they have to present themselves as a victim of others, they're going to, because then they don't have to take any responsibility, and they never do. They'll say that they've been betrayed or mistreated or misunderstood, that the world has turned on them, right? But they won't tell you the truth, that they've created their own hell, and they want you to live in it with them. They will distort, rewrite, gaslight, guilt trip, everything to get you to forget what you already know about them and what you've seen before. That is why we have to stay anchored in the facts, not the feelings. And let me be clear. You're not cold for protecting your heart. You're actually wise. And you're not broken for still caring. It just means that you're human. But you get to choose where your empathy goes now. And it should never, ever be wasted on somebody who only wants to use it against you. One of the most disarming war tactics that covert narcissists use is their performance of fragility. But it's not real, it's weaponized weakness. And when somebody is truly broken, they seek help. But when a narcissist is cornered, they perform brokenness to control you. And that is a very different situation. Now, one of the most important things that we can ever do is emotionally disengage. Detachment isn't cruelty. It helps us to regain our clarity and our autonomy. And remember, when the narcissist circles back with their victim, desperation, and cries for help, know that you're looking at a show. It's not real. It's a performance, you know. It is specifically designed to lure you back in and to test your boundaries. I was extremely lucky at the time that I received that phone call of suicide that there was such a vast distance between me and the narcissist. Otherwise, you know, in a moment's weakness, I'm pretty sure I would have gone to help. How important it is to have no contact, especially if you have a closer physical distance to them. And I know that it's not always possible to leave town and get physically away if the narcissist lives kind of close to you. But I will say it can be harder, and you're going to need to be stronger again, more disciplined again. It's easier basically to draw you back in physically by proximity. And it's very dangerous because the moment that you do get that physical contact with them, they can regain control of you. Because it's like being under a spell. Spells always are more potent at close proximity. And that phone call that happened quite some time ago, I can tell you that the narcissist now is still very much alive and kicking. And I want to tell you that the performance, the tears, the emotion was spectacular. It was a real notable performance. And I'd seen before just how fast narcissists were able to switch emotions. I can tell you it's very, very disconcerting when you can see and bear witness to how quickly a narcissist can switch their emotions. Now, they can literally be screaming, howling, crying 1 second, and then the next be totally fine. And why it's so disconcerting is because when you witness this, it is so real. You wouldn't think for any moment that this is all a fake performance. And obviously, some narcissists are way better at this than others, and they're far more dangerous. But when you realize that they can do these performances, we have to keep in our minds that everything about them is 100% completely insincere. If there was a measure of authenticity, you got 100 and you got 0, they would be in minus figures. They're not even at 0. They're way minus. I need to stress this to you because the performances are hollow and empty, even though they're so well crafted. And I'm going to tell you this next part of the story because it's important and it might just save somebody out there. I asked an acquaintance or a friend of the narcissist that was also being used and exploited, by the way, and had no idea. So I contacted this person. I said, please, check the narcissist because I received a suicide message. And I can tell you, 10 minutes later, I received confirmation that everything was fine. What on earth was I talking about? Do you see how this performance is designed only for you? And that blew my mind because you don't expect how anybody could actually do that. And that was sort of a time when I wasn't completely hardened and when I was giving these people still a bit of merit for their humanity. But I've seen time and time again, and I've seen it so your eyes basically don't have to, that these people are so inauthentic. They're so insincere. We simply cannot, and it would be our mistake if we did, treat these creatures with any fraction of sincerity because they're not sincere. They are complete liars, they're complete cheaters, and you can't believe anything that comes out of their mouths. When words fall from their lips, you've got to check it and double check it and triple check it. Hold it up to the light and you've got to ask yourself, is this really true? And I can answer, it's hugely unlikely to be true. So if this is all just manipulation, which it almost 100% of the time is, then tell me, how do they deserve your genuine emotions? How do they deserve your heart when all that they do is play you? Is this somebody really to trust? Is this a person that you can be open and vulnerable with? Is this a person that warrants your loyalty at all? No to everything. You don't have to feel bad or shameful or guilty for becoming like ice. Now I know better, you see. If I were to receive a phone call like that again from this narcissist or any narcissist, it would be like water off of a duck's back. And that's how we do need to train ourselves to be able to receive anything that narcissists say to us with their words. We're going to allow it to be like water off of a duck's back. It doesn't go through the skin at all. Because everything, like I said, that comes out of their mouth is lies and manipulation. There's no sincerity. There's no authenticity. So why should we allow somebody like that to penetrate us when they don't have any depth or weight themselves? Actually, we all need to make it our mission to develop ourselves to be hard to these people and to not allow them to get through our skin. And this is very important. And for those of you that don't know why it's so important because whoever the narcissist is that you are particularly dealing with, they want you destroyed. They hate you. They're only using you. They only see you as an opportunity to use and profit from through your exploitation. They don't have any feelings, I'm afraid. They have no feelings for anybody, so it is not personal. This is just a person that is very shallow, so why should we allow them deep into us? No, we need to put them and keep them where they belong, on the outside, and never to allow them to come back in. Because we keep the knowledge always in our minds without any doubt. And believe me, I'm telling you, do not doubt it, because I've tested this time and time again. I wasted a lot of time, and hopefully you don't have to waste the time that I did. They're not going to change. They can't change. They really can't. They don't want to. They really don't want to. They are basically what they are, so stay away from this type of person. And do not believe the lies that come out of their mouth. Don't believe any emotional displays that they put out. This is a person that can cry on the phone that they're going to commit suicide, and 10 minutes later, or even 1 minute later, be on the phone laughing to somebody else. Why would you believe the performance of somebody like that? Narcissists, they stage dramas just for your benefit. And it's disgusting, but this person isn't a human like you. So please do not and stop treating them like they are, like they resemble humans in any particular way, because they don't. They just have flesh and blood like you or I. That's it. That's exactly where it ends. You have to believe it, and you have to remember, like Maya Angelou said, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't wait around thinking this person is going to be different. I don't take anything that narcissists say to me seriously anymore. I really don't. I don't take it with any depth. I just take it with a grain of salt. It's the best way because, like I say, these aren't deep people. They're shallow people. It's not that I am desensitized, because other people could say those things to me and I would let it in, but I adjust myself for who I'm talking with. If it's a narcissist, then nothing's going to get through once I know who they are. And if they've shown me that real nasty side, which is of course the truth of who they are, I'm not going to unsee it, and I'm not going to let my guard down anymore, especially when I know that somebody wants me harm. I'm still exactly the same loving, kind, tender person that I always was, but my skin is thickened and my heart is armoured for narcissists, because we have to self-protect. This is really the only way to do it. Whilst you're in your healing and recovery, you're still going to be vulnerable for quite some time. So please recognize it, because usually this enmeshment and the entanglement has obviously been so unboundaried that your sense of self and your self-esteem and your validation is still very much mixed up with the narcissist. They've basically made themselves a huge part of your life because they've made you focus your attention, your energy on them 100% of the time. And we've been trained to serve them. So we can feel weird, lost, alone, like when things end. We're aware of how abusive and harmful these people are, but we can't help these feelings. Honestly, I can tell you that every single covert narcissist, male or female, doesn't matter, can play the damsel in distress. Now that might sound strange, but yeah, they do this, and that's what they have to do because it works well on humans. And I'm whispering that because we're not meant to know it. Covert narcissists, they need this victimhood because it gives them what they need. It's handy manipulation tool and strategy to use. So, I need your help. I need your help. I need your rescue. I'm in trouble. I'm in distress. I need a savior. I need a rescuer. Please come and help me. You're the only one. And I'm phoning you. I'm in tears. I'm in distress. Please, please, please. I beg you. I need you. Please help me. Yeah, it touches a lot of people because the majority of people that are human people, they have hearts. And it is very, very difficult to ignore those kinds of cries for help when you're a good person, when you have empathy, when you're an empath. And I think it can sometimes be harder for men with female covert narcissists who will act like they're so weak. They're so weak and they need a knight in shining armor. They need a masculine man to come and save them. Truth is, they're the predator. They're the predator putting on an act. You're the one in danger. You're the prey. Don't feed into this. Don't allow your masculinity, your protection to be triggered because guaranteed she doesn't need your protection. She doesn't even want your protection. It's not that. She wants your attention. She wants your money. She wants your resources. She wants whatever the hell she can get from you. But she doesn't need your protection because, believe me, she can look after herself. These people are wolves, even though that's an insult to wolves. They're predators. They can look after themselves. They really don't need help from anybody. They don't. They need supply, but they don't need help. So, women naturally can play the damsel in distress easier than what men would do, but male covert narcissists will also do this. They need you to nurture them, to take care of them. These individuals are going to try any kind of performance, any kind of level manipulation that they believe is going to work on you. And they can switch it up to find something that is going to work. If one thing doesn't, they'll just change it to something else. These are all strategies. They're not sincere. And of course, there is a rescuer trap here because, like I said, they don't want healing. They just want your energy. And your empathy is their weapon that they're going to use against you. That's the truth. It's super handy for them because they don't have any empathy. They're devoid, but they know that other people do. And it's remarkable, they think, what you can get out of somebody when you trigger their heart, their compassion and empathy. It's a manipulation tactic for covert narcissists. It's just too good to miss, basically. It's pretty much all that they have aside from their sexuality and their looks. Narcissists, they don't need your help, they need control, they need supply, they're not broken, they're just manipulative. So don't be manipulated into reopening a door that nearly destroyed you, first of all, You've got to keep the truth in your mind. Don't allow anything to come in and distort it. Don't allow emotions to cloud the truth. We must allow us to return to what is true every single time. Write it down, make notes, stick it up in your house so it's visible at all times, because narcissists will want to cover the truth. And if you have to talk with them, I suggested in another podcast ages ago that it could be really helpful to have like a little truth stone or stick or figurine that you can hold in your hand just to remind you not to believe anything that is said to you by the narcissist. To always remember the lies and manipulation behind anything and everything that they say, to remember exactly who you are dealing with. So I hope that this video has been helpful to you today. If it has, then please do like it and comment your thoughts down below. For now, thank you so much for watching. Take care, sending love, and I will see you all again next week.